this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Big repotting session again. I'm going to carry on the way I started with the last session. Part one will be getting the plants out of their pots, having a look at the roots, giving them a trim, dividing if necessary, and getting the plants in that preparation stage. Part two will be discussing their future, where they're liable to shoot out from, and choosing suitable media for the type of plant and the size pot and type of pot, if being potted, that they're going to go in. So two distinct sections. It seemed to go down well last time, and it hopefully keeps the videos a bit shorter, which, you know, bearing in mind I'm on my feet, these are continuous filming under normal circumstances. So right, I've got my scissors in to soak. We have multiple plants. I'm not going to go over the plants before I start. I'm going to pick the plants up and go over that plant and then on to the next one. It's quicker. I will also put pop-ups of the names of the plants. That's been requested by several people. And I will put the names of the plants in the description, so that any YouTube searches on specific plants might get a direct hit. So that's my plan, it's my theory and all that sort of stuff. Now, most of these shouldn't have been watered, but I think we slipped up on a couple. Now, if I try and lift this out of the pot, it won't come out. The pot always sticks. So if I lift the plant up, it'll come straight out of the pot, roots and all, which I don't want it to do at this point in time. However, it's going to have to do it straight away, so it wouldn't have made much difference, would it? Now, this is my Dendrobium Thai Angel. That was divided last time it was repotted. Somebody else has got the other piece now. That went off in the Orchids to go. I think the other piece actually had a new growth, whereas mine hasn't. But hopefully it will have soon. It's just been in its pot quite a while. But I know that simply because there's no date, so it goes back to the time when I lost my records, which is 2019, beginning of. So it's been in the pot, I would suggest, at least since then. So it's coming out. Old tired media here, I suspect. Now, this is a Phalaenopsis type Dendrobium. Likes to stay warm. Unfortunately, it doesn't get to stay warm in my place during the winter. The roots on this have gone. There's not a decent root there, I don't think. But we do have some nubbins of new roots just starting. So all is not lost. Yeah, that media's gone. This should have been done last year, really. Anyway, we will get the worst of the old media off. And not all of these roots have gone, actually. Those have, that little set. But some of these are still viable. Not many, but some. Like I've always said, some is always better than none. Typical, isn't it? The longest and bestest one has gone. Both sides, yep, he's gone. You, yeah, you've gone. There's nothing of you, so you can come off. The stump. That one's gone. The one next to it will have as well. Same section of the plant. That one, the end's gone, but that's firm. That's not. You can come off. The end of that's gone, but the rest is firm. That's firm. You can come off. Waste of time. Oh, gone. That's a shame. It looked like a good one, but it's not. Right. that's all I'm going to take off. That piece of bark is staying there because it's got two roots stuck to it. One's going back to there. Right, so we've got no sign of a new growth on this. That was the latest growth, the last one it grew, which bloomed. Slug got at that leaf, that's why that one looks a bit manky. So we should get a new growth in this area. It does look like it's swelling at the base, and there are some nubbins which are the next set of roots coming. So spray with hydrogen peroxide, and that'll have to be staked, it's top heavy. So that's that one. Right, next, another Dendrobium, Latoria type this time. This is my Dendrobium alexandrae, and I've been waiting for this to push up a new growth. New growth. It's nice when a plan comes together, isn't it? Let's keep these tags. Hello, we've got a piece of bark in the coffee already. Oh, and it's sunk, never mind. Right, scissors back in there. I'll cut that off in a minute. Right, we've got some roots in the pot, tiny little pots, but that's how I like to keep my Latoria types. That way they can stay relatively dry in the winter and stop them getting soggy. Is that a hello or a goodbye? That's a goodbye cat. Now the sun's come out, he likes to go out and sit in the sun. Got to be very careful I don't knock that new growth. Most of the good roots are in this area. So all I want to do is ease the media away from behind those roots. They don't need to go mad. The centre will probably just be dead roots. Let me get hold of this plant a bit higher up. Well, that new growth's going to go otherwise. Just teasing these apart basically. Yeah, this is a bit niffy as well. Thought it might be. Right, let's a lot of this will come off under the tap, what I don't get off now. These are good roots. Most of those around this side and the centre are not. So let's dispose of those straight away. Let's see what we're doing then. These ends are not so good. Branching root system, so trimming the ends actually stimulates them to branch. It's actually a good thing rather than a bad thing. Unless you can actually see a green root tip, it's probably best to leave those on because that is a current growing root. None of these are growing. These are, you know, this is the existing root system, we'll call it. And as a consequence the tips aren't growing. I don't want to go too mad with this because this is, let's say these roots aren't too bad at all. In fact, that's going to do. So again, hydrogen peroxide. Clean up the base. When I get it under the tap I can get a lot of this moss off. It's not essential to get that moss off, but I like to see the base of the plant, and when it starts getting buried under moss I worry about root tips and new growths staying wet before they get a chance to grow because they're in the moss. Although if you think in the wild they'd be in the moss, wouldn't they? Anyway, that's that one. Dendrobium alexandrae, so that's Phalaenopsis type, and now Latoria type. running out of places to put junk now. Right, now we've got an assortment. We'll do this one first. This is, I don't know. I haven't got a clue what this is. I obviously potted it up, I obviously wanted to keep it, and it was put in moss as a rescue. And effectively it's worked. And unfortunately it's dripping all over the place because, like an idiot, I watered it. Well, the thing is, I got part way round before I thought, actually I'm going to do some repotting. So I'd already gone past some, if you see what I mean. But it'll be probably a Miltonia of some sort. It could even be that something Comp, Peter Comp was it? But it got put in moss to rescue. Very soggy moss at the moment, and it's currently got some roots that have gone around the bottom of the pot, and it's growing some new ones under that new growth. So there's really not much trimming to do here. Just a couple of sheaths to get off. I said thank you, as you're told. And that's about it. It's a little early. Strictly speaking, that's a bit early. That could have been left a bit longer, but the moss is old, so it would be turning acidic. So I'd rather we got it in some media now. Use these roots plus the start of the next set. There's no tag there. I haven't got a clue what that is. Obviously something I thought, oh, it's got a new growth, we'll keep it. I do that. Right, so now we've got a couple of derricks, and this one here is one of derricks that's got no ID at all, but it's the one that was in bloom with the very pretty Odontoglossum type blooms on it. All of derricks were getting repotted as I went along, and because this one was in bloom it got missed. And yeah, we've got root growth in here. I just I'm not happy with leaving something that, you know, if it's an odont type, they're delicate in my environment because of the heat, and I don't like them having anything wrong, if you know what I mean. Lovely new growth just about to come up there. So we've got timing right as far as that's concerned, although I didn't know that at the time. But more importantly, we've got active roots. We've got root tips. We've got some manky ones as well. Why don't I remember to put my scissors in when I finish with them instead of when I pick them up to use them? Duh. Now these two little tiny bulbs are coming off, because I will only have to bury them, and that one was starting to rot at the base anyway. So now we've got two bulbs with a new growth on a plant that's very small. It should be bigger than that, but we've still yet to really establish why all Derrick's plants were so small. It's almost as though they got given a growth inhibitor, possibly by accident. When you get these older growers that have been growing for donkey's years, when you have a look in their potting area, they've got jars and plastic containers with all sorts of stuff in, with no flipping labels on them. You know, oh, it's alright, I'll remember what it is. Yeah, well, you might not. But yeah, we still haven't really established why all the plants were so small. But they were, and I'll do my best to get them going again. So although this one's got no name, it is a very attractive bloom, and I would like it to continue to grow. But given that I've potted up Oncidium type alliance plants with virtually no roots, and they've recovered, I've got no qualms that that's going to recover. That'll be fine, whatever it is. It's another unknown. Coffee. Right, it's another one of Derrick's, and this is a Coelogyne, and it's Memoria William, or was it Wilhelm? Micholitz, I'll put pop-ups. It's a German sounding name basically, it's the person who described that. I've got the name in my notes. So I had two of these, one went off to Milan, so he's got one. I don't know whether he's got his out of the pot yet, but got new growth on here, so I've got no worries about getting on with this one. It's not a bad root system. Not all active roots, but it's not a bad root system. But we've got some growing tips. So I'm quite happy to repot this, and it should pick up quite quickly. Probably could have got away with not repotting this until the next new growth, but you know, when it's unknown, when you don't know what's in the pot, better safe than sorry. I mean, some of Derek's stuff did have bad roots, so it's got to be worth a look. Now, unfortunately on this one, there is some strength in the plant in these two leafless bulbs, so I'm going to leave them on. I can plant it level, if you see what I mean. If it was a climber and these would have to be buried, I'd probably take them off, but I can plant that level in the pot with all the bases of the bulbs at the same height, and then the new growth will be sitting on the media, so that will be fine. Not going to take any of those roots off, they can all stay. Nothing wrong with that at all. I hope Milan's had good roots, well, if he's got it out of the pot yet. For some people, you just know that as soon as they get a new plant, it's coming out of the pot, and others are not in any rush. You know, they're quite happy to just bide their time, wait for the next session or whatever. Now these next two, both came from Burnham's at my last visit, were both in bloom, neither of them have a name, and they are almost identical, but not quite. But very similar. Again, the pop-ups will be there if I remember. This one is an absolute must because I'm not happy with what it's in, and it's got a nice new growth there. I thought I saw another one somewhere, but we've got one anyway, that's the important bit, and a lot of leaved bulbs. There's no indication of what that is, it just says Oncidium hybrid, and the only way I know the difference in the blooms, so that I know which picture goes with which plant, because they are virtually identical, is this one is in a different media which I don't like, and that's been marked in my notes. Actually, that's in that cocoa peat stuff. Now this is odd, because that has got a Burnham's Nursery tag on it that's nothing like their normal tags whatsoever. That does not look anything like a Burnham's tag, not even their old ones. For a start, they print that way, not that way. So I'm not quite sure what that tag means. And I know full well that Sarah wouldn't have potted this looking like this. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. It could be a batch of plants that she arranged an import with, and the tags were done by the importer. Ah, there is another new growth, I thought there was two. Now don't tell me you're two plants. Well, if you are, I'm going to try and keep you together, just for once. These roots are okay, these are fine. They wouldn't be forever, not in this stuff, not with me watering. I have, I think, got the hang of this cocoa peat stuff now. I can manage it until such time as I get it out of the pot without rotting it. But yeah, there's the moss plug in the middle. Quite honestly, those roots are gone in the centre there. But these are all viable roots. They're not active, and they are a bit desiccated. But that's because I've probably been a little overcautious with that media. and let it probably get a bit too dry in between. So you get slightly desiccated roots. If you keep it wet, they get soggy and they die. Catch 22. So I'm just trimming the ends here. It's a branching root system, so I want to stimulate some root growth, see if we can get some new growing tips going. Plus there's far too much to put in the pot there. And then I'm going to try and get up in the middle there and clear out those dead ones in the middle. Not too many, it's just a bunch in the middle there where the moss was. So for one of the Oncidium types in that type of media, that's not a bad plant. And we've got our two new growths, one here, one here. And I've got a feeling this is flopping, so it may well only be held together by the roots. But I'm going to leave it as one plant. If it's two, fair enough. It does have two leads on it. But we'll leave it as one. So that's that one. It's funny stuff this. It is actually a very good growing media. And if you chuck something chunky in with it that would allow it to drain better, it would be a brilliant media. But where it's normally used is either in the mass-producing nurseries or out in the Far East. And out there they've got the heat. So they don't have to worry about a cold English winter and the plants just staying too wet. They don't have to worry about that. We do. Right, last one. As I said, this one's almost identical. That's just got Oncidium hybrid in it. But this one actually came out of the nursery. So I think what probably, yeah, this is a Sarah pot with the polystyrene stuff in the bottom. Don't know how long it's been in the pot. So what would have happened with this, I suspect, is it would have been bought from one of her suppliers, one of the mass producers or their agents, and it didn't get sold, and the blooms went over, and it just got taken out of the pot, put in a new one, and stuck in the growing area, just to see if it will grow and bloom again, which it did. So it worked. So instead of just dumping the plant because it had no blooms on, she got a sale. But when you're running a nursery, you haven't got time to muck about too much, you know, to any great extent. Now what we've got here is definitely two plants, and we've got a new growth on that one. It's a weak plant, that bit. Can I pop that? Oh, I suppose it's better. Let's see. Roots are not good. Roots are virtually gone on that piece. So I don't know whether that's going to grow or not. I mean, the new growth will produce some roots, but the bulbs are desiccated, and the latest two growths that it's produced are tiny compared with what was there before. We have got new roots just coming off of that new growth, so it is going to grow some roots, but the old ones are not up to much at all. In fact, they just will all come off. Not going to do any good. Not even good enough to hold the flipping thing in the pot. So now, is it worth potting that? I suppose if I stake it, it'll either grow or it won't. So we'll possibly do something with that. And then the other piece is, again, the bulbs are desiccated, and from the original bulb it hasn't grown quite such large bulbs, but they're better than on that piece. And again, we have a new growth. And the roots here are not quite so bad. They're still not good, but they're not quite so bad. So I'm just going to give those an end trim just to see if they'll branch. They may not, but I'm not going to take them all off. I'm just going to take that chunk off there. Get in there. There's a bug of some sort. Not sure what that was. Looks like a little fly of some description. But these will all get hydrogen peroxide, and although that's not specifically designed for dealing with bugs, it's meant to deal with pathogens, mould spores and the like. It's not really a bug killer, but tiny little bugs don't normally survive it because it burns basically. So you know, if you would imagine being immersed in a swimming pool full of hydrogen peroxide at 3% and held under, you might not survive either. Right, so those are they. As I say, that was what, 7 plants, turned out to be 8 because one had 2 in the pot, and I will now get the hydrogen peroxide around the base of the plants and the roots, give them a good clean up, get this stuff out of here because we don't want that in the recycling bin, and then we'll be back in part 2 to discuss what they're going to get potted in, whether they're going in a pot, whether any are going to be mounted. It's possible 1 or 2 of the Oncidium types might get mounted, but it's very difficult. Although I'm quite happy mounting Oncidium types, I'm not very happy mounting Oncidium types that have got a lot of Odontoglossum in them, simply because they need to stay cooler and shadier, and mounts go up in the roof. So it doesn't work for them like it does for some of the other Oncidium types. So there we go. I'll be back in part 2. Probably they'll all get potted, just thinking about it. And we'll sort out some pots, some media, get it mixed, dealt with, and get them potted, and in some cases staked, because we've got 2 tall Dendrobiums there with not big root systems, so they'll need staking. So, see you in part 2. I'm filming it now. You know, I will turn the camera off and have a clear up, but I will carry on filming now, and but I won't post them consecutively. So this one will go up today, later this afternoon when I've processed it. The other one will probably go up in a couple of days' time. Leave a gap, do something else in between, that sort of thing. So, thanks for dropping by. If you haven't subscribed, it would be nice if you did so. So I'm not going to start saying that in every video because it drives me up the wall. But a reminder now and again is useful. See you next time. Thanks for dropping by.